The Minnesota Vikings get a gutsy win against the Chicago Bears in a game where it seemed like the Vikings had every bit of momentum, every bit of control. We saw quite the scare for Vikings fans, but John Parker Romo sealed the deal in overtime for a massive and much-needed Minnesota Vikings win. We're going to be talking about the highs, the lows of this game, a few major performers who really showed out this game, and a lot of people that we've been waiting, for this full outburst from these players. But like I said, before we get into all of this, we know that 91% of you guys watching right now are not subscribed to the channel. If you're looking for a spot to get all of your Minnesota Vikings news, if you're in the right spot, hit the sub button, join us here on the channel. We're covering everything Minnesota Vikings. And Griffen, we've moved to 9-2 after as I mentioned, a gutsy win, and one that maybe have taken a few years off my life near the end of it here. This was ultimately a very good game, and this is the team that we want to see win games just like this. There's going to be adversity against you in the game. We've seen the end of the game. I believe it was less than a minute. We were up by 11, and it got sent to overtime. Games like those are ones that you need to see the Vikings win. So before we get into our kind of stats here and breakdown of the game, how'd you feel about it, and what you think about the win?
Liked how we came out in the first half. I thought they played a really efficient, very solid first half. Yeah, there were some things on defense that they really had a tough time with, particularly when Caleb Williams was scrambling and making and improvising plays where looked like he just had the playmaker stick activated from Madden, especially on that wheel route to DeAndre Swift where he found him for a big completion and there was nothing Minnesota could do about it. But they were able to limit those kind of plays in the second half, and that was really nice. But again, there were still things where Minnesota had the game in hand and they could not just get that extra distance and just make it unsurmountable for the opposing team. They still have played a game where they should have won it handedly, and they had opportunities to win it handedly, and they let the other team get back in the game, just like they did against Tennessee, just like Indianapolis tried to do against us, quite frankly. Thankfully, we were able to get an 11-point win out of that. But with this in Chicago, this is something where Minnesota just had to just come through and just seal the game and put it away when they had the chance to. They couldn't do it, and the momentum definitely shifted. I know it shifted very fast, and that 11-point gap was gone within the last minute of the game. But again, they were in situations where they had multiple chances to put it away, and they couldn't get it going.
Yeah, and I got a screenshot here from Will Raggett, and I think this was all of every Vikings fan watching this game's reaction to what we've seen here. And starting from the bottom, the Caleb Williams touchdown to Keenan Allen, and they get the 2-point conversion. Goes down to an onside kick. They get the onside kick, the Bears do, off the leg of Johnny Munt before the 10 yards the ball needed to go. They get the field goal in field goal range. Goes to overtime. The Bears win the coin flip. And at that point, I think we're all like, oh no. We know how this overtime works with the coin flip and everything. But ultimately, Caleb Williams made one big mistake, and a very big rookie mistake, that is, by just kind of running the ball without getting rid of it, throwing it anywhere after some incredible coverage by the Minnesota defense, which ultimately led us to get the ball back and go down to get John Parker Romo a big win and a big field goal made for the guy in the second week from the XFL coming over, and I think he's got my trust now. We've been discussing, we need to see some more from them. We need to see some more from John Parker Romo in his short time here, just to be able to have that bit of confidence in a kicker that we're not too familiar with. But ultimately, it's looking good. It seemed like it was good, and this was as I mentioned for the third time in this video, a gutsy win, and one that the Vikings really showed they needed to get, and showed the fans that they're not out of these games, as it may seem like when it happens. But moving on as well, I did want to show some rushing and receiving spotlights, I guess is a good way of putting it. TJ Hockenson, once again, another great game from him, going for over 100 yards. Aaron Jones, a big bounce back after that early fumble where he really seemed to not be comfortable at the result of that, and ultimately came back later in the game and had that momentum back to where it was, and even above where it was before the game. And of course, Jordan Addison, 162 yards with a touchdown. Oh my God, he played so good. And this is one that we've all been waiting for. We seen Free 3 on his Instagram story there a couple weeks ago. That kind of made me worry a bit, thinking if he was looking for a trade, but ultimately, after that, and after the last few games, it seems like we have Jordan Addison secured into this lineup as a whole. And Justin Jefferson, not here today too much, two receptions for 27 yards, but that was helping out the other guys. The pressure on him is always a big thing that the Vikings are looking for. We know he can get the ball in those situations, but a good thing from Sam Darnold today is that he wasn't forcing it to Justin Jefferson. If the look was there, he saw him covered, he wasn't throwing. I think that's a big thing that we're looking for Sam Darnold, is a bit more awareness around the passing just for Justin Jefferson, because we know that really anybody can throw to Jefferson. he'll catch it. But it's a great way to see this win here today. So, Griffen, how do you think about these guys I just mentioned? TJ Hockenson, Jordan Addison, those are some guys that we've really been waiting for. TJ Hockenson coming back to the lineup recently, getting back in the game. Jordan Addison, a guy that we've been kind of waiting for all year, it seems like, and he's fully back at what it seems like over the past few weeks. So let me know what you think about those guys there.
Yeah, I was really happy that it was kind of one of those wins offensively for Minnesota where Jefferson was locked down. Sam wasn't forcing that ball in there like we saw him do in the Jacksonville game or in some other games this season where that led to turnovers. And it also brought a lot of attention away from those guys so that we could have those options open where we had TJ Hockenson, Jordan Addison, Aaron Jones, all these guys that were options. Even Jalen Naylor getting his touchdown, his 5th touchdown of the year. He's having a career year. So there was a thing where for a while we were struggling to see what this was going to be as far as confidence in these guys. We know Jalen Naylor had that drop pass. We know Brandon Powell had that fumble. So there was things where, okay, if Jefferson isn't there, are we going to be able to trust these guys? And this was one of those games to reinstill that confidence in those guys by showing, hey, we can spread the ball around if you take away Jefferson. We saw Miami do that today where everybody except Tyreek Hill scored a touchdown for Miami. And that was the same thing for Minnesota where everybody except Justin Jefferson got involved and got a touchdown or just got a lot of yards, but it brought a lot of attention away from Jefferson so that they were able to do that. So that's what I really liked. And as well, Caleb Williams in that second half, he did make that horrible decision that led to the sack in overtime as well. That was a result of him just trying to do too much, and that was a great adjustment Minnesota made where they didn't allow him to do those. However, it still led to one of those old-fashioned Minnesota Vikings games where fans are just on pins and needles. They're taking 8 years off of their age, and their hair is going gray. So we are used to these kind of games, and that's part of the thrill of being a Vikings fan is when we come away with these wins, when those happen, it's a rush unlike any other. It's just like when it's almost like when your team wins the Super Bowl. I can't imagine how Vikings fans would react because we've been through so many of these stressful wins that when we get a win like this, it feels that monumental. So if other teams could share that same feeling, I would love for them to know the stress that we know. However, we were able to get away with the win today. Hopefully next week isn't as scary against Arizona. I know they're starting to get going a little bit. So there's a lot that is going to be question marks heading into the rest of this season. But as long as we keep pace with the line and hope that they have a misstep along the way where we can just steal that final game at the end of the season, that's what it all comes down to.
Yeah, and it really seems like the Bears are heating up as well. Similar to what you said about the Arizona Cardinals, we really saw Caleb Williams perform in this game. And obviously, there are going to be rookie mistakes here and there for really any rookie quarterback. But the way we saw Caleb Williams was one of his best games of the season. So the fact that the Vikings could stay on top of that, keep him below where he actually looked in this game, and especially with the receivers they've added as well. Keenan Allen had a day, but we were able to contain everybody in this line, which was a very big thing that I think the Vikings needed to really show off. And especially in a team that's been going up and up and up like the Bears. And obviously, they're still the Bears. They're still going to have their issues here and there. But the fact that we saw this, that we can put this into perspective to other teams is a very big point to what the Vikings are going to have to look for over the coming weeks as we get closer and closer to the Lions once again, and hopefully, like you said, they get a little misstep here or there at some point, and the Vikings can overtake them. But looking at another big factor of this game here was obviously the Aaron Jones fumble, but that's not the one I want to focus on. Bo Richter getting the fumble recovery off the punt, which ultimately got the Vikings back down onto the, I believe it was 10-yard line or something. The Bears receiver, don't know what he was doing, let's be honest, or a return man, sorry, don't know what he was doing on that play. He was right above the ball as it landed in front of him, and, was just a horrible play by the Bears, but ultimately a very big recovery from Bo Richter, who I was very high on earlier in this season when he got called up, when he got put into this lineup, and really was given the opportunity to show what he can actually do and what we've seen him do in his college career and everything. This guy could be a dog, and this was only the start of what we're going to see about him. But another thing I wanted to touch on was Sam Darnold in this one. And we touched on this a bit, Griffen, here as well. But the fact that we saw Sam Darnold in the fourth quarter have 0 turnover-worthy passes, 2 big-time throws, 166 passing yards, and 11 for 13. That's something we haven't seen too much from Sam Darnold this season. We've seen a lot of Sam Darnold, kind of, as I mentioned, forcing the ball to Justin Jefferson, forcing the ball to your top receivers, knowing they're going to be covered, but knowing that they can also catch the ball in traffic. And it really seemed today like Sam Darnold had the confidence in himself, in his team, that anybody could have caught the ball. And the Bears defense, although it was a few tough plays for them here or there, there's still some very good players on that defense. So the fact that we could spread the ball like we did, have this kind of fourth quarter from Sam Darnold, I think is one that I hope we see a lot more of. And if we do see this and we see the receiving spread that I showed earlier and the rushing spread, I think this Viking team could literally be unstoppable, and especially as we get further in the season, having this type of mentality going into the end of a game and having the adversity that they're going to have to overcome, I think is something that a lot of Vikings fans should be really excited to see near the end of the game. So, what do you think about these Griffins, especially this one? I'll pull up once again the screenshot here from Sam Darnold. How different did you thought he looked going into kind of this mentality of not trying to get the ball to Justin Jefferson on every single play?
I gotta tell you, when I look at that graphic, that tells me playoff and championship worthy performance or capability of doing that. Because if he's able to do that in a regular season game, if he's able to replicate that in the postseason, that's going to be very hard to stop, because those big time plays, those are going to turn into touchdowns naturally. We've seen great teams do that, where when it comes down to it, it doesn't matter how you started the game, it's how you finish the game. And when teams come out and finish and play great in the second half or that fourth quarter, when it comes down to it in the postseason, that's when we see the best in players. That's when we see players reach their all-time potential. Not saying that Sam Darnold's an all-timer or anything like that, but I'm saying that we reach the maximum of his potential in those moments. So this is something he can continue on to Arizona and through in, and that's how we get our revenge game against the Lions, where that can steal the division for us. And we just have this momentum heading into the postseason that we know that when the chips are down, if our quarterback has to sling it, he's going to be able to put it in the right spot and not force something. And that's the thing too, is Minnesota has to stay aggressive in these fourth quarters. We've seen so many games, like I said earlier, where they have a chance to put the game away very, very early and very handedly, and then they don't. They stay conservative on offense, or they take a little bit of a lax on defense, and they're not able to get it done. Primarily on offense more than defense. So that's going to be something where maybe in those moments, Sam calls an audible and says, hey, we're not going to stick with this run that's just going to kill clock, but also set us back a few yards, because they know that's what we're trying to do. Hey, let's go into a play action here, because I know we can catch him off guard. That's going to be something where Sam's going to have to become a bit more of a field general and less of a game manager if Minnesota wants to continue to pull off fourth quarters like this.
Yeah, I completely agree. And also, we can't not give credit to Kevin O'Connell in this one. Kevin O'Connell has been a guy that we've all been really high on this season. Of course, been the coach that the Vikings needed, not just wanted, the one that he's really merging and linking with the team a lot more than many other coaches seem like they're doing. And this is what Will Raggets had to put out with Kevin O'Connell, what he said. He said he was really proud of the team and how they responded after completely losing momentum today. He said they learned a lot about themselves in this win. And once again, just goes to show that Kevin O'Connell is the exact coach the Vikings needed. We've said it after every single win, every single game, even after the losses, after the wins, no matter when. Kevin O'Connell was always there for this team. They're there for him, and you can just see that this team cares about Kevin O'Connell, what he has to say, and how his coaching really affects this Vikings team. So once again, Kevin O'Connell, a major win coming out of him. His whole lead up to this team is really been something that we need to study, especially a lot of other teams who may not have found that success with their coach. But Griffen, what do you think about Kevin O'Connell before we finish this one off?
For as much as the crap that I give him about his offensive play calling in critical situations, doesn't change the fact that I love that he's our coach. He's my favorite coach that we've had in my lifetime, aside from only Dennis Green, really. But that was only for a short time. I was still a kid when he was our coach. But as far as in my formative years and just watching football, he is my favorite Vikings coach that we've had. He is who we've needed. He still has that confidence in his guys no matter what. That is what makes him a great coach, is that even in a game like Sam Darnold had, he still went up to him and said, hey, we did good. We still got the win. I still have the confidence in you. You can keep this ball rolling. So for him to have that confidence in his guys and know that, yes, this win wasn't pretty. We should have won this game a bit more convincingly, but it's still a division win. It's still a road division win, and it's still a win. It doesn't matter how we get these wins. Winning is winning. All that matters is when it comes down to the end of the season, who has more wins, who has more losses. Doesn't matter the score at that point, because frankly, if it comes down to a scoring contest with the Lions, we're not going to win that boat race. That's going to be something where Minnesota just has to just win the win battle, and that's what it's going to come down to this season.
Yeah, now the Vikings move to 9-2, 5-1 on the road. Another stat that we also love to see, but we still got a big few games ahead of us and a lot to prove still that we are better than the Detroit Lions. So you're not going to want to miss anything Vikings news, and we'll have it here for all of you guys. But that's all we got in this video. If you did enjoy, give it a like, hit the sub button as well. And like I said, the Vikings got to keep going, and again, I really can't wait. This team gets me so excited to see this team perform the way they have and find the success, but it's only a matter of time until we see some more. So that's all we got. Thank you for watching. Hope you have a great day. See you later.